Another factor that you might want to look at is extension. Extension in the pitching delivery. When did that become part of our instruction? And can getting too much extension be getting us more and more trouble? Okay, is getting more trouble? When I thought about this, I thought, well, you know what? Extension. When did that become part of the instruction? Well, it wasn't that way when I played in '88 and in 1993 when I started coaching. I don't recall telling my pitchers that they needed to get more extension. I do know that in 1993 I was talking about drop and drive, that you shouldn't drop and drive, that pitching was a controlled fall, that you had to ride the plane of the mound and you had to pull yourself from the rubber. I do recall that in 93, 94. In 88, my pitching coach, John Hughes, I don't recall him ever telling me I needed to get my hand closer to home plate. I needed more extension to get the ball down. As I started thinking about it, could have come about in the mid-90s, because when I was introduced to a drill by my mentor, one of the key guys to my thought process, Jerry Weinstein, we used to do a drill, and we didn't do it long, we didn't do it often, but we used to do a rope and chair drill. And this rope and chair drill was simply a drill which, much like the towel drill, we used to put a chair out in front of the mound, and our guys would go through a delivery and hit the chair with this rope. When we videotaped this drill, because Coach Weinstein wanted to use it in one of his video series with Coach's Choice, we looked at the video and said, you know, man, that just didn't look good. They didn't look right. You know, we were teaching guys to get upper body aggressive and attack with their upper body, and very well minimize their lower half. And so we nixed that drill, and we went to a more game-like drill, more of a perfect practice drill, and that was using the rope, but finding the release point about 2 to 3 inches in front of the stride leg, and we would place a paddle according to the guy's arm angle. We would place the paddle and let his hand come through and hit the paddle with the rope. We found that that was more game-like, and but you know, we also found that there were other things that probably required more of our attention than that drill. But that was 96, 97 in which we used that drill. So I'm thinking that extension, because I do know that in coaching a young man that eventually went off to the University of Stanford, who was a very analytical young man that had the search for the perfect delivery. It didn't matter that he threw 89 to 91. He needed to have the perfect delivery because he wanted more. And I know that he started doing the towel drill, and as a result got to a point where his delivery, where it was nice and fluid, got to this extending portion where he was really getting out, and he ended up pushing the ball. When I saw him after returning home from a season in professional baseball, I said, well, man, what's going on with your approach? You look very different. And he said, well, you know, that he has simplified his approach, that he was trying to get more extension to the plate. He was using this towel drill, and he was explaining to me all the thoughts behind it. And when I asked him, you know, why he was throwing the ball at 86, 87, he said, well, it really didn't matter. The reason is that, you know, he was getting the ball down. It now had movement, but it lost velocity. And I said, well, you know, young man, you're gonna have a better chance of signing a professional contract throwing your 90-91 than you are at 87. I understand all this other stuff, but you should learn how to throw and hit your target throwing hard rather than this overextended area. So and I say that because that was in 1999, 2000. So I got to think that the whole extension thing came about at that time in 2000. So 10 to 11 years ago. Now, could this extension be part of why we're having that 700% thing? Could it be a contributor to that? Here I've got a clip of Luke Hochaver, and he's going through his approach, and I've got this yellow line which signifies the ball in his hand, okay, as it's moving. And the red line is the path of the hand after the ball is let go. Now you'll see this arc, okay, occur. Now Luke, for the camera angle that we had, it was a very good camera angle to see this arc. Well, you're not going to see that arc out of every young man unless they share that same arm slot or arm angle and you're at that same camera position. But if there's a lower arm slot, you may have to have a more elevated camera view. But everybody has this throwing arc. Positioning your camera for that individual is very necessary, but everybody has what you see here, a speed up phase and a deceleration phase, and you'll see this arc. You just need to position your camera. Okay, I need to make that clear because someone's going to videotape their young man, not see that same arc and go, well, that's wrong. Well, no, you might need to put that camera at a different angle to catch the arm path. You might even have to go from an elevated view. But in this case, you can see that the arc does exist. Now, the arm will only go as fast as it has the ability to slow down. The arm will only go as fast as it has the ability to slow down. And you know, this arc here that we saw on Luke's delivery, what we have is when extension is part of the instruction, and this arc gets now, this natural arc and release point gets pushed forward, you now have less time to decelerate. So now the arm is moving forward, and where the arm wants to decelerate, the release point pushes further, and now you're throwing a ball in a decelerated state, okay? Meaning that's why the ball, okay, becomes slower. Now the lack of velocity, the instructor will tell you, well, the ball is naturally going to be slower, but listen, it's because, one, it's slower because you're not used to it. Two, look at the action of the ball. You'll probably see more action out of the ball. Three, the ball will be down. But here, don't worry about the velocity part of it just yet, because you know what? Throwing 87, but closer to the plate, is still going to look like the 90 that you were throwing to the hitter. Even though it's 87, it's going to get on the hitter quicker. This young man buys into that, and he understands that, but you know what? Scouts are more justified to sign somebody that is throwing 90 than they are throwing 86, 87. They're going to have to find more attributes and place those attributes in the report before they sign that kid at 86, 87. The guy that's throwing 90, well, you almost got to find reasons why you're not going to sign this young man or give this young man an opportunity. Well, now you go from throwing 90, okay, and the scouts aren't as high on the young man. The athlete, knowing that he once threw hard, goes back to throwing 89 to 90, but after this new skill of throwing the ball out in front, because he was getting the ball down and the ball had movement, he now starts throwing harder, trying to get his 88 to 90, now with lesser time to decelerate. And now, while having a lesser time to decelerate, is that when the injury does occur. Another thing that I wanted to bring up about extension is why? Why did we even go into that realm? When you think of a fastball thrown at 90 miles an hour at 6 feet off the ground, finishing at 2 feet off the ground, if that 90 mile an hour fastball was thrown in a vacuum, meaning it had no air, no gravity, no wind resistance, that 90 mile an hour fastball would finish through that strike zone at 2 feet off the ground on a straight line at 90 miles an hour, maybe even a little bit faster at 90.002 or something. But it will stay on a straight line. But now when you incorporate wind resistance, gravity, air, seams, all that stuff, a 90 mile an hour fastball, when it crosses the plate, is at 80 miles an hour. So the ball will decrease in speed. A 90 mile an hour fastball will finish at the plate at 80 miles an hour. Now, in decreasing in speed, it also drops 6 to 8 inches. So, for that pitch to be thrown at the lower quadrant, okay, think of the changeup. Think of the changeup thrown in that same area. The changeup's going to be thrown at, if you're a 90-mile-an-hour guy, the changeup's going to be thrown, so let's say 78. At 78, being with air, wind, resistance, gravity, it's going to probably, at least, it's going to lose 10 miles an hour like the fastball does. It's going to be about 68. But being that it started out slower, it's probably going to finish slower. So 68 probably finishes at about 66. 78 finishes at 66. Now if a 90-mile-an-hour fastball going down to 80 drops 6 to 8, what's that 78 to 66 going to be? 10 to 12? Maybe even more? Well, for it to finish at the same area, what happens to the extension? Now think about the breaking ball that has a hump to it. If you want it to finish in that lower quadrant of the strike zone, where does that have to be released? And could extension, the only reason we taught extension, could that be because it was only for the fastball? That it really becomes irrelevant. So teaching extension for only the fastball would be like teaching a changeup, dropping the ball deeper in your hand to throw a changeup. You throw every pitch with the ball in your fingers. Why learn a different skill by throwing the ball deeper in your hand? Why did we teach extension if possibly extension does not occur on the other pitches? So pitching down in the zone is a result achieved by focus and intent. You increase the focus and extension happens naturally, not forced. John Savage, the coach at UCLA, talked about glove talk. He wanted his pitchers to really go to the glove and get that glove talking. Well, I like the thought process, and why wasn't that the case when we, instead of ever going to extension, really focus on the end result of hit the ball, hit the glove, hit the glove, hit the glove. If you throw a pitch down in the strike zone, does extension occur? Yes. If the ball's up in the zone, it's not because you lack extension. It's probably because you lack focus. To get the ball down in the zone probably requires you to do the right adjustment. Then you don't have to worry about breaking the natural arc of the arm.